Well, I tell people California's like heaven, only without all the boring music. No, Steve Gillis and I were in San Francisco. He's a bar fighter, 5'8½", 150 pounds, but wiry, scrappy. He'd jump into a bar fight on the side of the underdog every time. And come up winners, too. Well, he did that one night and got arrested and put in jail. I stood his bail. Bad judgment. Steve jumped bail. But before leaving for Virginia City, he hooked his little finger in my buttonhole, pulled me close, said, "Sam, go up to my cabin on Jackass Hill." Well, that's exactly what I did. Steve Gillis's brother Jim owned that cabin. He built it. And their little brother, I think his name was William, I didn't spend much time with him. And we did some surface mining there. That is, just prospecting through the surface soil for a nugget the size of your fingernail, see you through for a week or so. And it was raining one day, we couldn't work, so we went down into the camp, Angel's Camp. And it was in a saloon there that I heard this old prospector, Ross Coon, with a beard down to here, tell a story about a frog. And I liked that story. So I wrote it up, I embroidered it, and when I published The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County in book form with some other sketches, I dedicated that frail little book to John Smith. Yes, hoping every John Smith in America would purchase a copy, and they did. And that launched my career as an author. When I left Virginia City, I knew I was saying goodbye to the most vigorous enjoyment of life I would ever be afforded. Those days were full to the brim with the wine of life, and there have been no others like them. So life in Tuolumne County, up on Jackass Hill, in the Gillis cabin, was what you might call Spartan. I don't like work even when other people are doing it. No, I never had any luck at all in mining. I soon enough discovered a silver mine where nothing but a hole in the ground with a fool at the bottom and a liar at the top. But every time I failed at one of my entrepreneurial excesses, I went back to the pen. I never saw an opportunity until it had ceased to be one. Whenever I got in on the ground floor of a commercial enterprise, there was an SOB in the basement. But luckily for me, I was forced to go back to the pen. I spent just enough time on Jackass Hill to let things quiet down in the city. And then I slipped back inside and got myself a wonderful sinecure. I was dispatched by the Sacramento Union to the Sandwich Islands, the loveliest fleet of islands that lies anchored in any ocean. My assignment was to write up the potential for commerce between California and Hawaii. But I wrote about everything else, the dogs, the horses, the fleas, the people. And by the time I returned to California, 4 months later, I was the best-known honest man on the Pacific coast. Well, they called it Jackass Hill before I got there. And that was because all of the burros up there had saddlebags to keep the ore in. And there were burros everywhere. The Gillis boys still own land up on that property. The Rotary Club refurbished that cabin 5, 6, 10 years ago. They invited me down. We cut the ribbon, drank champagne, ate some cake, and I got a tap on the shoulder from one of the Gillis boys. He said, "Sam, you want to see a picture of Steve?" He took me inside his home, opened a family album, and there was a picture of Steve Gillis, gray as a rat. Gave me chicken skin. And then he took me up to the cabin where Steve had died. And we had a moment of respect. California got the best from the world in the rush for silver. 1849, some of the hardiest people arrived in California. And 10 years later, the best of that best would rush off to the Silver Land, Virginia City. Some of those best stayed in California. And what I like about California as opposed to the rest of the states, they spend their money. Oh, all that money that came to San Francisco from Virginia City was spent. Look at the Fairmont today. Beautiful. And they have perpetuated that tradition. Even today, the people in San Francisco know how to have a good time. They spend their money. In Philadelphia, they squeeze the buffalo in a nickel. Yeah, give me California every time.